And but we came along, another page later we came to another word, and it said that Rama was walking through the forest, and he came up to an ashram, and there was one of the sannyasis there sitting in samadhi. And I thought, okay, here's another word, samadhi. Okay, does anybody know what samadhi means? And I'm expecting another hamburger type answer. And Nicole, who happened to be the youngest, she was only 4 years old at this point. She raised her hand, and I said, okay, Nicole, what's samadhi? And she says, well, samadhi is when you're sitting there and you're really quiet. Somebody comes up to you and says, Nicole, Nicole, and there's nobody there to answer. So it caused me to stop and realize, oh my gosh, okay. I did a little more research with that generation, and I remember walking out with a couple, always do one-on-one time with the kids. That's when a baseline for education for life, it used to be called How to Live Education, is the teacher needs to develop one-on-one contacts with the students. And so I was out for a walk with one of the boys who was about 7 at the time, 8, and I said, how do you know, what's the right thing to do? How do you know how to choose the right thing? And he says, oh, it's not too hard. And I said, what do you do? He says, I just stop and listen for the beep. And I said, whoa, that's pretty neat. I thought, okay, I'm going to try this with somebody else. So I went out with one of the other guys the next day, and I said, how do you know? How do you know how to do what's right? And he says, oh, I just listen to the little old man in my head. And they had their own way of expressing it, but the whole idea is there was some kind of inner sense that they were tuning into that was very powerful, and we could all use a little beep or a little man in our heads to help us sometimes. So learning that, okay, this was going to be a co-creative effort. This is going to be a team effort with the children and the teachers working together and drawing this out. And that was one of the real bottom lines for this whole thing to unfold. Second major lesson was, how do you share these teachings? And being I was in my late 20s at the time, and had a very intellectual upbringing, so I just thought, well, you just tell them what the teachings are. So this is another one from those very early days. So I had given a lesson on karma, how karma is, you put out energy and energy comes back, and it all balances out, and cause and effect. And so I thought, oh, pretty good lesson. Yeah, I got that one out. So I said, okay, it's recess time. So they all go outside, and about 5 minutes later, I hear somebody go, whack! And the guy said, that's your karma. So we rearranged things. And then I'll tell a story briefly, but it's a story again. When I told Swami this story, he just lit up. I mean, it's just like, oh, you've finally gotten it. You have this little lingering feeling that Swami has a real clear idea where you're supposed to go, but he won't tell you. But when you take steps in that direction, he'll kind of give you a little support. So we had this one time when it snowed. Many people have heard this story. It snowed up at the Aspen building, and the kids wanted to go outside to play. And so I said, well, I don't know, let's get our work done. They said, oh, please, can we go outside? I said, all right, let's go outside. We went outside, and within about 5 minutes, there was this huge snowball fight going on, and people were crying and yelling and screaming at each other, and it was chaos. And I said, okay, all right, enough, come on back in, sit down, cool off. And so we had them sit there for 5 minutes, calming down, and then they said, can we go outside again? And I said, no way. I said, oh, we've been trying to learn this lesson about cooperation. And I said, oh, but I'll tell you what, if we turn it into an experiment and you go outside and you learn to show me that you're cooperating, then you can go outside and play in the snow. And I said, yes. So everybody piles outside, and they're very formal with each other. He says, excuse me, may I please use that snow there? But the energy starts building, and the first round we had the snowball fights, we had forts going up and everything. Next time, people are building palaces together, and they're cooperating, and they kept looking over their shoulder at me, of course, but yeah, that's the way to go. And then we came back in afterwards, and I just said, what would you rather have? Which would you rather have? Would you rather have the first recess or the second recess? And everybody, second recess, and I said, yeah, that's what cooperation's all about. That's what cooperation creates, is those beautiful times like that. Yeah, we want cooperation. So anyway, it was the beginning of a lesson, and it was because it was experiential. It was experiential. It wasn't intellectual, and that was what Swami was trying to get through. That's the way to teach. You work with life as it comes, and then it kind of unfolds that way. So there were a few other basic lessons, but I'm not going to go into them because I want there to be time for you to hear these great people up here. So maybe I'll come back up at the end and fill in a little bit. Thanks. We'll have Sandy come up.